What is up, everybody? Mr. Play Dr. Gamer here, back with another video for y'all today. In today's video, I just want to sit here and talk about how I think the Nintendo Switch 2 is one of the most wasteful ways to waste your money. I just think Nintendo Switch 2 is the most waste of money I personally ever buy, and I just gonna sit here and complain about Nintendo Switch 2 because for a minute here, I was just sitting here thinking, bro, how did Nintendo fumble Nintendo Switch 2? Nintendo Switch 2 almost been out for a year now, and I see nobody talking about this thing. Like, the amount of people that talk about Nintendo Switch 2, you hear crickets. Nobody is talking about this thing like they were talking about the regular Switch. The Nintendo Switch 2 is the most dead console, I ever hear, because nobody talks about the console. I be scouring the internet, and a lot of people been talking about how the Nintendo Switch 2 is just a waste of money, or they just regret buying Nintendo Switch 2. And therefore, like, a few key factors why I think a lot of people kind of regret buying Nintendo Switch 2. For one thing, the lack of exclusive. Nintendo Switch 2 have been out for almost a year, and I ain't heard one exclusive that Nintendo released that's a must-have or must-play. I know Nintendo Switch 2 do got exclusive like Donkey Kong Bonanza, you got Mario Kart World, and you got all the other third-party games to come out on Nintendo Switch. But the problem with that is when it comes to like the third-party games like Cyberpunk and Alan Wake 2 and all the other games, people already play these games. People already play these games on better consoles with better frame rate and better resolution. So we can't really sit here and say, oh, the third-party game made the Nintendo Switch 2 worth it, because for one thing, the Steam Deck or any other handheld device can run the game way more better than the Nintendo Switch 2, and can then have better resolution. And also, people already played and beat these games by the time Nintendo Switch 2 released. Who is really sitting here saying, oh, I'm glad I get to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or remake on my Nintendo Switch 2 when you could have played on Steam Deck 2 years or 1 year earlier? And like, who really sitting here saying, oh, I finally get to play Final Fantasy VII Remake or Rebirth or Cyberpunk on my Nintendo Switch 2 when you could have done that with the Steam Deck and probably have better frame rate and better resolution to boot? So that's one thing, and that one thing is the lack of first party and third party hype. Is that when it comes to third party, they only release Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. I can be wrong; they probably released more shit, but the problem is nobody's talking about Nintendo first party. I ain't heard one Nintendo game or one Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive that's a must play. I know a lot of people play Mario Kart World when it comes out, but I feel like Mario Kart World had long past their player base. Nobody really talking about Mario Kart World. And plus, a lot of people I watched on YouTube saying that Mario Kart World is probably one of the worst Mario Kart or one of the weakest Mario Kart ever released. People are actually, I feel like, going back to Mario Kart 8 because Mario Kart World is not even like feature complete. Like, Mario Kart World is bare bones at best. Like, Mario Kart World is a bare bone game. Mario Kart 8 is a completely fleshed out Mario Kart game. And Nintendo charged you $80 for the Mario Kart game, by the way. They charge you $80 for Mario Kart World. And also, Nintendo is also charging you to upgrade your games. So that's also a deal breaker too. And here's another thing too. Most Nintendo Switch 1 games don't run better on Nintendo Switch 2. That's my another pet peeve I have with Nintendo Switch 2 right now. Is that older games don't run at a higher frame rate. So if you play a Nintendo Switch 1 game on Nintendo Switch 2, unless Nintendo develop an upgraded version of that game, you're not playing that game at a higher resolution or higher frame rate. It's not like Xbox, the Xbox Series or the Xbox or PS. I believe, well, I can't believe PlayStation does the same thing. If I'm not mistaken, where you can't play you cannot play upgraded versions. You cannot play your games at a higher FPS unless the developer actually turned on a mode to actually make it playable at a higher FPS. And I think that goes for like PS4. If you try to play a PS4 game on a PS5, on a PS5, is that you still gonna be capped at 30. You still gonna be capped at 30. And that's the same thing with the Switch 2. Is that Nintendo Switch 2 is actually cap older Nintendo Switch 1 game at 30 FPS. So you can't even take advantage of the higher frame rate. So it's kind of like, why would you own a Nintendo Switch 2 if you can't play your older games at higher frame rate? Like, you can say, oh, but it's not a PC, but still though, man, it's like, what's the point of buying a new console? I went to Nintendo Switch 2. I didn't buy no Nintendo Switch 2 because I didn't think it was worth the money. And good thing I didn't buy Nintendo Switch 2 because I feel like a lot of people now is kind of regretting buying Nintendo Switch 2. But I just think it's ridiculous that you cannot play a Nintendo Switch 1 game on your Nintendo Switch 2 and get higher frame rate and higher resolutions. I think they're ridiculous, and you gotta wait for Nintendo to hopefully upgrade that game you like to a higher frame or a higher resolution. Like, you gotta pray and hope that Nintendo decide, you know what, we want to make an upgraded version of that game. And if they do make an upgraded version of the game where they give you a higher frame rate and higher resolution, they're gonna charge you for it. They're gonna charge you for the upgraded frame rates and visuals, which I think they're kind of scummy. It's like, bro, you telling me I gotta pay extra money to have the right to take advantage of the power that my console can provide? After I bought the console, I gotta pay even more money? It's ridiculous, man. And the reason I decided to make this off the cuff rank about the Nintendo Switch 2 is because Nintendo is raising the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 to $50, to $50 more. So instead of Nintendo Switch 2 being $450, it's gonna be $500 plus tax. So you're gonna be paying almost $600 or less for Nintendo Switch 2. So you can either you're gonna be paying around you're gonna be paying the ballpark around either $550 or $600 for a Nintendo Switch 2 because of that extra $50 they're gonna put on the Nintendo Switch. And makes bad. Here's the kicker: the $500 bundle used to come with Mario Kart, but when they put the price hike in effect, which is this September, you're gonna be paying $500, and that's just for the console. You ain't gonna get a game with it. You're not gonna even get a game with it. You're gonna be paying $500 for just the console, and that is ridiculous. That's $500 they do. They're ridiculous. I can imagine how much the Mario Kart bundle will be, but now with this bundle, you're gonna be paying $500 just to have the console. You don't even get a game with it. And also, Nintendo's stock had also took a hit due to the price hike. And I just wanted, and this video was gonna be about how Nintendo Switch price hike, how Nintendo Switch gonna have price hike and how the stock fell. But also in the process, I just want to complain about how I just think Nintendo Switch 2 is just kind of an underrated. It's just not a good console right now to get. I feel like there's just no reason to own a Nintendo Switch 2 right now. I think Nintendo really dropped the ball with the Switch, and I hear no conversation with the Switch. Like, there's nobody talking about the Switch 2. Nobody's talking about the Switch. Like, there's no buzz around the Switch. Nobody's saying, oh, have you heard this Switch news? How you heard this Nintendo news? There either two reasons you will hear about Nintendo nowadays. It's because they're making a movie. I feel like Nintendo is so focused on making movies. I think they forgot that they make games, because I ain't heard one new Switch game that's coming out. I ain't hear one new Switch game that's supposed to be coming out. Only thing I been hearing about was the Mario movie and the Zelda movie. And I ain't hear nothing about no Switch game, no new Switch game, no new Switch software. Like, Nintendo is so focused on trying to make these movies, they probably forgot that they make games. They are a gaming company, not a movie company. And the fact that there are just no Nintendo games. There's no games. There's no reason to own the Switch. It don't give me that. Oh, but they released a new Star Fox. One thing, that's a remake of an old game. They remaking an old game, so that ain't nothing new. It's nothing new. They're not releasing nothing new. So you're getting a remake of a 20 or 30-year-old game And that what you got to look forward to for the Switch 2 for right now is a remake of a 30-year-old game. That's it. That's all you had to look forward to with the Switch 2. But anyway, I just want to rant about the Nintendo Switch 2, and I just want to rant about how I just think the Nintendo Switch 2 right now is just a worthless fucking console. I think the console is just worthless. Like, there's just no reason to get a Switch 2. But anyway, been Mr. Played Out with a video. See y'all next time. Peace.